welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. JT Russell
Good to see you
and
again.
Quick Draw here. Yeah, good to see you indeed.
So this is going to be one of my favorite episodes so far, and it's because it's going to be about one of my favorite cards. Well, probably my favorite card. So anyone that I think has played or talked to me before probably knows what that means. But we'll keep some spoilers for now, and we'll hold off. But as usual, we have a number of announcements for today that we want to get through. It's all of the leagues that Not Tonight won in the last week. Um, no, we have a list here, but I want to start with the game found, which believe you have up at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's got like what 5 days, 6 days left, something like that.
6 days.
Um, yeah, the Unchained decks were released this morning or last night, I forget, and it just like went kind of crazy, like everyone expected. I didn't think they were going to reach the 750 when this whole thing started, and now it seems inevitable, and it's just really amazing to see like all of the contributions that the players have given to this campaign. It's really amazing to see. Um, it's 687 right now. Um, I'm really stoked for a lot of this. I didn't go all in on the Unchained. I don't know about you. I'm gonna have three total by when it's all said and done, and I feel like that'll scratch the itch for me.
So I have to admit, I have a box of Unchained coming on top of the two that are going to be included with my pledge. So excited for those. I have no idea how or when I'm going to play them. Probably they're going to end up being some sealed fodder or some I don't know, decks that I bust out in retirement when I'm really ready for something exciting. You know.
Yeah, I hope they're as exciting as people like think they will be, but I just kind of have a weird feeling that they're not going to be as exciting as we hope. Like I
Yeah.
if we can get SAT scores on them, I have a feeling they're not going to be like super spicy. I think there's probably going to be a lot of like disjointedness with them. I'm hoping for something crazy. Like if you get something that's like super weird and fun that you wouldn't otherwise get, it'll be worth it. But I'm not really expecting like total insanity like the Impossible decks that came out a couple years ago as print and plays.
So to be perfectly honest, I would be almost a little disappointed if they were all really spicy. Like I want some that are just pure jank nonsense, like low 30s on SAS, and you're just like, this is the game. Like this is kind of why we love the crazy wackiness that can happen. And one person's terrible tear it up shredder fodder Archon deck is another person's reversal gem. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you'll find a lot of tournaments in the coming months after this comes out. I don't think it'll just be all reserved for future sealed shenanigans with you and your locals. I think you'll probably be able to find a lot of tournaments. I think people are really excited about it. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to do with them in the next 6 months, 8 months or so.
I agree. And this is something that I think were chatting about on our team server. But the response by the Keyforged community to these Unchained decks is nothing like what you see in the MTG community for unsets. And people kind of would like scratch their heads. Maybe it was more niche. I know some more of the recent unsets have gotten better reception. But yeah, folks are really excited. I'm super pumped. I like I said, don't really want to get just bangers. I mean, one would be fun. One like 200 SAS nonsense deck would be fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to have like three. I'm getting three, so like I got three mostly because I just would like to say that I have an Unchained Triad, and I would
Mm-hmm.
like that Unchained Triad to be like roughly equal in power. So I don't want like three like 100 SAS decks out of it. I don't want three 30 SAS decks, but like something in the middle that's like functional, kind of fun and normal, but like equal. Because if I'm gonna play a Triad with it, I don't want one to like stand out above the others because I'll never play that one. So something
Mm-hmm.
neat like that I think would be pretty cool. But um, also, you guys have probably all seen all the content creators out there that have been getting spoilers. We are not so fortunate. We're, I guess, fairly new, I guess, is our excuse. We never really reached out to Ghost Galaxy about it. I'm sure they would have obliged if we had. Maybe we can still get in contact with them for some stuff, but no spoilers from us tonight on that. So apologies in advance.
Our request got lost in the mail. Something about this sloppily written address.
My handwriting.
Yeah, right. But
All right, we got a
yeah,
couple other announcements. Do you want to go through them?
yeah. I think the other night we were able to stream a match, an NKFL match from JDG 314 versus Dave C. Incredible match between two top talented players. And JDG did win that match 3-0, and that actually cemented an undefeated season on paper for JDG 314, which is, I don't want to say unprecedented in the NKFL, but certainly a very impressive run, and locked in a top position for JDG in that round, or in the pool play. So
Yeah.
really
So does
cool.
that mean that he plays in a play-in to go into the gold
I believe
next
so.
season? Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So that was in the bronze, which was just staggering competition for the bronze division. We saw this being the first season where a lot of new players came in, and you start in the bronze. So we see some world class players in the bronze division this time around. Um, and yeah, that first place finish gets JDG a play in opportunity to go right into gold, I believe. Hmm.
It's pretty sweet.
Very
Congrats to
cool.
him. Great run in this round robin part of it. 15-0 on paper was his record. I think there was one drop in there, so he
Hmm.
would have been, I think, what, 14-1, if not for that drop. But the drop technically gave him that, which is just a really incredible run in
Yeah,
a tournament like that.
absolutely.
So props, hats off.
Major props. And also NKFL, Not Tonight's having a great season, so she's in really great position to advance from silver to gold. And with one round left to play, we'll see how it shakes out, but a lot of confidence in her as always. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm really hoping that our two sloppy lab work teammates both advance to gold. Unfortunately, this was a uh, less successful season for both ST Russell and I. So we'll be making our silver debut in the next iteration. Uh,
So you guys were both in gold.
we were both in gold, and neither of us had seasons to write home about. Let's say.
I think you had an excuse. Um, I remember you were talking about the rules of needing all of the decks, and you were just kind of in the middle of a move, and you didn't find your all your decks in the right time. Is that right? And so you kind of like were scrambling to find some good enough decks for it.
Yeah, and to their credit, Sizex, the organizer, did say I could roll with the exact same lineup I went last season. I'd opened a couple new ones that I was itching to try. Wanted to try out the new coolness. So I stand by my decks. Will I play the
That
same
is really
ones
cool.
next season? We'll see.
Yeah, there were some really spicy ones that you had there too. So it's not like
I did. I
you weren't
did.
at a total disadvantage. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
some fun stuff.
Um, yeah. So rough round for the Russell brothers. Great season for both Not Tonight and JDG. Really rooting for both of you in the kind of remaining rounds and playoffs of this NKFL season.
Yeah, and I would say we can also probably expect to have JDG on here at some point in the future to talk about the NKFL.
Yeah.
It's a super cool format. We've talked about it briefly. We obviously did his match last week. But I think there's a lot to say about that format. It's super cool, and we're gonna wait to have JDG on sometime to talk about it.
And I'm gonna offer ST Russell's time as well. So we'll see if we can make that happen. That'd be a lot of fun.
Good, excellent.
Cool. All right. So I think that exhausts at least the announcements I had on the tongue.
Yeah. Which is gonna bring us to the main event today.
The main event. Do you wanna tee it up for us here?
You can tee it up. You can tee it up.
Okay.
I'll have
Cool.
I'll be talking a lot.
So we had a bunch of topics we were kind of going between which to roll with tonight, and we settled on wanting to talk about Whirlpool, and this is actually going to be a part of a larger arc about double-sided artifacts. So we thought we'd each choose an artifact to talk about. Quick Draw, famously famous for his love of Whirlpool, so no surprise there. And I'm bringing the infamously infamous Heart of the Forest to the table to talk about as well. So we're gonna run through some of our thoughts and feels about these two artifacts. I hopefully will not bore you with heart things, and hopefully we will dazzle you with Whirlpool things.
So I'm going to be carrying the show tonight. Is that what you're saying?
That's no pressure. Yeah.
All right. Um, So the first thing about Whirlpool that stands out to me was like one of the first decks I played online with Dark Tidings was a Whirlpool deck, and I had seen the card. I wasn't fully prepared for the chaos and the madness that was going to. Um, if you guys all remember, in the U.S. the set was kind of delayed. It came after it was released in Europe, so a lot of Europeans had it first. And so I was playing online with Narrow and Stereo all the time when the set came out. We didn't have any decks, so we were just playing sealed or like just kind of net decking some random Dark Tidings that we wanted to play with. And one of the first games, it may have been the first one, I don't remember. It might have been the first game I ever played in Dark Tidings, was a Whirlpool deck. And I actually know the owner of the deck. It is a player who's in the Sanctimonious group, and I've reached out and tried to acquire it to no avail. Maybe I can try again, but it kind of like kindled this love of the card for me because it was just first time that you're on TCO and it asks you which house you want to choose, and you have six options. It just blows your mind. And you have like this crazy board in front of you of all these different creatures. There's so much happening, going all over the place. Um, I don't, I don't think it had like a ton of. It had some capturing in the deck, but that wasn't really even like what attracted me to it. It was really just the insanity of everything that was happening, and I've pretty much been hooked ever since.
Right on. I uh, I wish I had as romantic a story for Heart of the Forest. I think I have some wiring miswired, but I do tend to gravitate towards strategies or even cards that are behated by others, if only as a way to even only as a way to kind of make them work and be like, no, this can be fun. Really, I promise. Sometimes to varied success, but I think what really appeals to me about Heart of the Forest and Whirlpool, and to an extent many other double-sided artifacts, is it really changes the nature of the game and presents a lot of interesting puzzles. And I almost want to say that I enjoy looking at Heart of the Forest decks and reading them and thinking about them more than actually playing them. And maybe that's fair. They fall into this like interesting but maybe not always fun category. And I don't know. Maybe it's kind of fair to extend that to double-sided artifacts to an extent as a category. Keyforge is in sort of a larger meta sense is like a game system as opposed to a game. And every time you bring a deck, your opponent brings a deck. Well, now we're actually playing a game that has kind of finite parameters. And for Heart of the Forest and these other double-sided artifacts kind of change some of the rules and kind of bring you to fringes of the system or iterations of the game that folks may not have always signed up for. And Heart of the Forest famously being one that folks are not shy about letting you know they did not sign up for.
Yeah, I'm definitely mostly in that camp for Heart of the Forest. You've kind of made me come around a little bit on the Quixel Stone, which is like still like can be extremely irritating, but I don't know. There's something that appeals to me about it now. But um, all of these double-sided artifacts, like you said, they kind of change the rules of the game and they make you rethink. You might have a deck that you've played 1,000 times, but if you've never played it against Heart or Whirlpool or like Ulfbert Device or any of this stuff, the first time you do that, you may have to completely change how you've ever played that deck. And that's kind of what I love about them is that it's something that affects both players, obviously, and it will really make you get into situations that you've never been in before, and you have to figure out like what's the best way to get through this. Now, like that said, I think also with these kind of artifacts is this trait where not every deck is going to be able to use it well, or not every deck is going to be able to play around that strategic aspect of it. You definitely need certain synergies with it. We'll talk about a bit for these two, but I think it applies to almost every one of these types of double-sided artifacts that you could have it in one deck and it's great, and you can have another deck and you just want to discard it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to find. If you have any of these artifacts you love, it's hard to find a deck with it that you like truly love because of all the synergies that can have. And I think the harder part, especially with Whirlpool, is finding a Whirlpool deck that wants to use Whirlpool, but if you're up against a lot of hard R or someone else who can use it better than you have to find a win condition that doesn't revolve around it as well. So that's really hard to do with Whirlpool. I think it's probably pretty hard to do with most of these, like Heart. Um, but we were looking at your Heart decks earlier today, and there's you know almost all of them have like a path for it, right?
Yeah, I was surprised to see. Maybe it's just a measure of how how much AOA I've been opening, but I have a fair number of Heart of the Forest decks. I think 9. Um, Only one was a secondary market purchase, but the vast majority of them do have key cheats. They have the burst potential in Untamed, and most of them kind of tick some of the other boxes that you'd care about for a heart deck. Um, and I think, if I was just going to rattle some of those off, yeah, key cheat's the big one. You really can't be forging key 3 at the start of your turn. And then after that, like, can you forge key 3, but for starting from 0 amber? So, you don't want to give your opponent wiggle room to stop you just by taking you back to an exact forge. And then after that, you're like, well, now can I forge 2 keys from 0 amber without using my start of turn forge? Really, if you're relying on your start of turn forge, you're opening yourself up to being vulnerable to things like stealth mode, things like control the weak, because they see the moment where you go for it, right? There's a moment where you're like, okay, now I'm going to go for it. And if you have to forge key 2 at the start of your turn, you become more vulnerable. So there's the double key cheat Heart of the Forest decks, and then there's the decks that can recover, and then there's the decks that can also have a secondary plan. And each of these kind of tick different boxes. This one's an awful lot of fun because it can tick most of those boxes, but Cat Burglar is one way I've talked about and featured on the a Sloppy Library puzzle that ticks them all and possibly even better. So you have to really look beyond the SAS numbers too for a lot of these, which is another kind of cool take. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Cat Burglar is one where you're taking your time and you're spending many, many turns just drawing a couple cards and not playing anything or gaining any amber. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of setup involved, and you talked about some of these specific counters like stealth mode and control the weak, or even like exalting and just giving you amber, so you forge when you don't want to. All the time that you take the setup, your opponent can also be using the setup. So they need to recognize like, okay, stealth mode is going to win me the game here if they ever get through their deck and like have their deck in hand and they're about to, go off in this turn, and they have to just recognize that, find the card they need, hang on to it, and then use it at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And some people really enjoy kind of that element of puzzling out, and then the subsequent like grind of a game that follows. And other people are like, I signed up for 6 to 10 turns of burst. No thanks. And that's fair. It's fair.
Somebody quit on me in turn 2 or 3 maybe after I had Whirlpool out and played an old Bruno and passed it over to them, and they were like, they literally almost said those exact words that you just said, like, I didn't sign up for this. Good
And
game, and they left. I
and
was like, okay.
I think that's fine. And you know what? I think for like an competitive, like an open game, even competitive and TCO, like that's fine. Like you're like, all right, I didn't sign for this. I concede. Like, okay, like that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, he was polite about it, so it's no salt or anything like that. It was just like, eh. But I really love those kind of games. Like to me that
Hmm.
like is a puzzle that I love doing. Um, the the reason that I never previously liked Heart or Quixel very much, and I still like need some convincing on those, is that I didn't like the aspect that where you could bring a Heart deck, and if I don't have a stealth mode, or I don't have a control the weak, or I don't have exalting, like sometimes I don't have Heart R, I don't have anything that's a specific answer for it. There are definitely decks that you would just show up and you're like, I can't do anything about this. And so, if you get it out in time and you're drawing your deck, I'm literally just, I can't do anything. And so that's what I don't like about it. I want
Hmm.
there to be interplay, I want there to be answers, but just the nature of Keyforge is that you're not always going to have those answers. So I think that's probably like the reason that I haven't fully come around on them yet.
So I definitely feel the vibes there. And I don't know if we want to go too deep on the symmetric artifacts in general. Um, but I don't know. Is there some element of like, well, you ignored a facet of the game and are getting punished from it in a competitive setting? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
artifacts are part of the game. There are artifacts that provide a very reliable path to victory uh, when ignored, and ignore them is a choice that you can take uh, as a trade off for some power, right? And like I feel like
right.
that's a decision point, um,
Yeah,
but but a fair
yeah,
one.
I think so. I agree, and I think for a while, my collection didn't really have anything that was like considered a high-end Archon type deck, and so for a very long time, I would always seek out decks that, at a minimum, had artifact control because I didn't feel like my decks on their own were strong enough to be able to beat like an Eaton's Jar or a Heart of the Forest or things like that, and I didn't want to be caught without anything to be able to do against them. But as I've bought more and more decks, thanks to the fire sale mostly, and I've acquired some really good ones. I have plenty of really good ones that don't have artifact control, and they're just good enough on their own
Hmm.
to be able to win anyway. So yeah, you're right. Like when you go into a competitive event, you need to recognize like I don't have artifact control, and there's going to be some holes here for me where I may not be able to respond to a certain type of deck. But I think that's totally fine in a Swiss event. If you are playing like 6 or 8 games over the course of a day, and you might just say like, well, if I run into 1 or 2 games against Heart and I can't beat it, it is what it is. I just have to make sure I win the rest of my games. When you get to match play or a single elimination kind of thing, then maybe it changes your strategy a bit. But I think
Hmm.
in a Swiss event, I think there's nothing wrong with playing no hard R, as long as you're comfortable with your decks and you feel like you have few enough other holes that you don't have to worry about like running into a big artifact for like 6 games.
And so I will say too, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this take from the Whirlpool perspective, but I believe that there are a lot more tools for dealing with heart than folks kind of generally generally consider as reasonable, or kind of just kind of when you say heart of the forest, people think, oh, well, this deck doesn't have hard R, can't deal with it. I don't know if that's always true. I think there is a lot more there are a lot more kind of tools and options that folks have than they might realize. Like, gosh, I remember this past not this past swindle, 2 swindles ago. I forget what it was, but we were practicing with this deck Nemesis. My brother was playing it, and I was playing one of his decks. Gosh, it must have been I forget which deck it was, but on the deck that I had that I was piloting against Nemesis had no artifact control, had one Gruen to give him Amber, and it had Lost in the Woods and all this other recursion, and I played that Gruen like 12 times over the course of the game, and combined with other disruption was able to keep him off the plan. And we started this matchup, and he got Heart of the Forest turn 2 or 3, and we said, well, should we even finish? All right, let's play it out. And it went from, okay, I have no way to win, this is terrible, to like, there's no way I'm gonna lose. Like it's just like complete reversal. So I think, yeah,
That's a
it's
great lesson for like just always play out your games. Like I don't like conceding early, because you just never know what's gonna happen. Like maybe your opponent's drawn like the best 15 cards in their deck in the top half and they're slaughtering you, and then after that they have like just 20 really bad cards, and it gives you a chance to come back. That's a good example of not giving up and just kind of playing things out. And you can also like run into something that you didn't think of.
mm-hmm.
Like just having that chance to play that Groon 15 times, you probably didn't go into it thinking like this is going to be the key to victory here, and then you learn something from it.
Yeah, funny. And I mean, the right card in Furnace, Purge with Infernus, can swing a Heart of the Forest game. I mean, when you sit down with Whirlpool in a competitive setting, what do you most? There's the obvious things like, okay, maybe they have heavy capture and they're going to ship over heavy capture, but what are you most concerned about seeing as kind of non-typical non-typical tools to battle a Whirlpool?
So first, a few things about Whirlpool,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of decks that I look for with them. Um, I Capture is the most obvious. Like you capture on your own guy and you give it to them, and you have to have a way to kill it afterwards. So you need to have some capture, and you need to have a decent amount of targeted creature control as well. Otherwise, you're going to be playing hot potato, and you send back this creature, and you can't kill it ever, and it's eventually going to come back around again too. So the capture is one thing. House cheating is another one that I look for. So like a lot of Star Alliance in Dark Tidings has ways to use your neighboring creatures and use creatures out of house, and it's got Diplomat Agung and Crash Muldoon and things like that that'll let you um, use other creatures. Sometimes Untamed will have some things like Reaper So that'll let you at least use someone that's at least a little bit of synergy. It's not a ton. It's just a one-time play, but it helps to like say like, okay, I have this creature that's out of house on my side. At least I can use it, and my opponent doesn't have anything like that kind of house cheating to not be able to use it. So there's a number of things like that. Um, as far as what my opponents have, um, it's mostly capture, I think, that I'm afraid of. Um, you have to be careful about like knowing how much they can capture and give to you, and then decide like, do I need more creatures on my side of the board? I've had plenty of games where you play no creatures because Whirlpool's out, and you want to make sure that you have your flank clear and you can get something right back over to them right away.
Hmm.
Then I've had other games where like both players have a giant board, and you just say like, okay, screw it, like we're just playing a bunch of creatures, and that's going to be it. Um, but like I mentioned earlier with Whirlpool and a lot of these other artifacts, is that you need to be able to have a win condition that revolves around or doesn't revolve around the artifact, and Whirlpool specifically. And I think with Whirlpool, it's particularly hard to find a deck that's really good if they have hard R. So like, I don't want to bring a Whirlpool deck to an Archon event and have someone bring like Poltergeist and maybe like, well, I guess I hope they don't find their Poltergeist, otherwise I lose. Like that's a bad strategy. You need to
Yeah.
have some backup plan. You need to have some other answers in your deck. So um, I've had a lot of fun searching for Whirlpool decks that just have that synergy, but it's been a real challenge to find a deck that's good and has that synergy. And I have a couple in this list that I think are, potentially pretty good, even if the Whirlpool's canceled. One you're looking at right there is Blonde Hair, the German one on the top right.
Hmm.
It's an Epic Quest deck. It's got tons of knights. It's got a great way to just like reap out with Sanctum, or you could play the Epic Quest for a free key. It's got some pretty good house cheating with the Muldoon and the Tabor, things like that. It doesn't have a super ton of capturing, but it does have a Gatekeeper, which can be pretty good if they decide to burst up on you. Um, so it's got some things going for it. That is a pretty solid deck, even if the Whirlpool doesn't get going. Um, and then the one right below it too is A Jones Lotto Meek is also it's I've only played it a couple times, but I've been very impressed with it so far. Doesn't have a ton of creature control, but it does have a lot of burst that it can do in Untamed especially. Um, so pretty cool deck. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just hope that people like when you bring Whirlpool, I bring it into TCO and just want to have a good time. Like if I'm playing something more casually and um, I always play in the competitive queue, but like there's always like you know these badges if you like beat some really spicy deck with a Whirlpool deck, you feel like really good about yourself. And I've had some like really wacky games, and that's like why I really do it. Like I had a game the other day against a Brig deck, and I just played a Bring Low after he played the Brig, and I put it all on this one creature, and just passed him like 12 amber on the creature, and was like, and it was out of house for him, so he couldn't do anything with it really. And it was just like that was just kind of a fun like scenario to be in. Um, Another ridiculous situation I was in, and speaking of double-sided artifacts, was a match with Whirlpool versus Quixelstone, and that was one of those cases where like you sit down and you were talking earlier about like getting into situations you've never been in before. That was one for the ages for me because we both got the artifacts out early, and I played a creature with Whirlpool out and passed it over to him, and he couldn't play any creatures. It was out of house for him. He couldn't kill it. He had, it started to build up a ton of amber on it from like exalting and capturing, and so each time it was one of our turns, we didn't want to kill it, but we couldn't play any creatures, and like the extra layer of hilarity on it was that he had two Mollymocks and he had two Gorm of Om, and they were all worthless because he wasn't allowed to play the Mollymock. And the Gorm he could have triggered to kill an artifact, but had he done the Gorm to kill the Whirlpool, he would have been stuck with that creature with like 10 amber on it. And so it was just a game of hot potato. That was the only creature played the entire game. Um, and it was just a ridiculous thing that I'd never thought of before. And then you get in the game and you're just like, I don't know. It's hard to not have fun when you're in games like that. That are just something you hadn't seen before, and you're just like all figuring out like, what do I do here? Like, I don't know. It was really cool. I had a lot of fun that game. I hope my opponent did.
More fun than the
I can't say for
hard
sure though.
opponents, I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, we were just like both discarding cards, and a lot of people were like, "Well, I don't like to discard cards. I want to play cards." And that game was just literally all discarding. No auto encoder, just discarding for nothing. No gain whatsoever. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that can happen with Whirlpool.
So I actually had a friendly fire match in minors a week or two weeks ago now against Not Tonight, where she was playing. a Whirlpool deck, and then I had the double Grunt Buggy deck, and we were kind of like playing hot potato with the big creatures driving up key cost.
Was I watching that game?
That
This
was
sounds familiar.
yeah. I think you saw that game, if not live or a recording. Uh, but uh, what I really like about Whirlpool and a lot of these other artifacts, I guess, is that they create these tension points that don't often exist in the game naturally, normally, right? So with Whirlpool, there's like, okay, one of us, it's probably correct for one of us not to play any creatures, like
Mm.
like probably one of us shouldn't be playing creatures because there's going to be some big ambush getting shipped across and you want to just be like, no, take it back, you know
Yeah.
and maybe it's correct for both of us to like have an empty board most of the time. And I think that creates really interesting tension points because somebody breaks first and they play a bunch of creatures and then they get stuck with a whole bunch of amber that has to like make its way across.
Yep.
And that's a really like like really interesting decision point that you don't see normally, and you kind of really have to be paying attention and thinking things through to make sure you trigger appropriately or play through appropriately.
Yeah. Grunt Buggy is a good one. Like I do remember that game now, and Grunt Buggy just made it even more insane. Like everything that was happening in that game. My favorite trick is to just like play a bunch of creatures with Whirlpool out, and then have them think like, all right, I got him. Like I'm gonna pass back this creature with a ton of amber, and they're good. And then like the next turn, I'll play a shifting battlefield and like move it to the other side and just give it right back to them. And then they're
Yeah.
like, oh crap, because they think they're out of the woods and they play a bunch of creatures, and then you play the shifting battlefield or something like that. There's so many cool cards. This is what you used in your Grunt Buggy game that was super clever. I thought like this is an AOA card. Like it's not supposed to be like the Whirlpool game changer, but it was such a good card when you were playing it in that match.
Mm-hmm. So for folks on audio only, the beam buckler threatening to move my own creatures across the battle line to be sent back after they've been sent over, and it went from being like this card that's pretty good, but like it's not matchup defining to like, oh my goodness, like this is
Yeah.
the thing that sends them all back. So
And
fun
then
moment.
there was an old Bruno that was out, and
Mm-hmm.
Not Tonight put exactly one damage pip on it, which meant that she turned off the beam buckler, which is like what a crazy play that is. Like to think like, oh well, they've got a beam buckler that's gonna like ruin my Whirlpool, so I have to damage this with exactly one damage, but not
Mm-hmm.
kill it yet. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, very fun, very fun. So I know we're hitting close to half an hour here, but I have one more question for you. As a Whirlpool player, how sad are you to see Mark of Dis?
It's a really interesting one. I have played some games where I've like super played around it as much as I could, but sometimes you want to discard the Whirlpool for it. Sometimes you just like you play through it. I don't know. What can I say? Like sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, especially if they only have one Mark of Dis. It can certainly like really mess you up. It's very similar to like the Exile and Mark of Dis combo,
Mm-hmm.
um, which now in stereo has like an incredible Exile Mark of Dis deck. Um, so sometimes like yeah, I have discarded Whirlpool for it before. Um, I prefer not to. I like to have some fun.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. I feel like we could spend a whole kind of episode talking about Mark of Dis, but yeah, there's some gap between deal 2 damage to a creature and control a weak, and how much is it worth kind of going out of your way not to give your opponent that upgrade. I've definitely been on the wrong side of that gap on both sides of it, both ways
Yeah,
that you can go. So it's
yeah.
interesting to think through. Um,
If I could do a little shameless plug here, I guess so to speak.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a Whirlpool collector. I have 22 Whirlpool decks at the moment. My goal is to have one in every language. I am currently missing three languages. I have tried and failed to acquire these on a few occasions. Korean, Portuguese, and simplified Chinese. So if you know anyone that has a Whirlpool deck of any of those languages, Korean, Portuguese, simplified Chinese, hit me up. I would be happy to trade or buy. Um, I think it's like I'm kind of a language person, so like for me having one of every language is going to be super cool because it's like my favorite card. It's like the only thing that I'm like really collecting in this game. And I think everybody has something, and this is my something. So um, I'm also looking for like other weird things that I don't have yet, like a double whirlpool I don't have. There's a bunch out there. A Maverick whirlpool. There's one in existence, and
Oof.
I don't know who owns it, and I want it. Um, And then like there's other things like an Evil Twin Whirlpool deck, or with like the matching Evil Twin Whirlpool would be like amazing life goal right there. So stuff like that. Uh, but if you can help me out in any way with that stuff, I have a very extensive trade list. Happy to talk. Um, but yeah, um, hit me up.
And if you happen to open an I saved Keyforge or an Unchained Whirlpool deck, you know where to go. Just bring your Stripe account number.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. We were talking earlier, how cool would it be to have like an unchained Whirlpool deck with like just the most insane stuff with it, like a Pit Lord and like all this other crazy stuff. Like that would be so much fun to just have like an unchained Whirlpool. That could be that could be some pretty wild decks there.
yeah. I want the Whirlpool Pit Lord Grommet Ether Spider deck. Yeah,
It's
let's
got
make
to
it
be out
happen.
there somewhere.
It's gotta happen.
It's gonna be out there.
Cool,
Awesome.
cool.
Are we ready for a game then?
I think so. Do we have a sign off yet? Or do we switch gears?
No, we still haven't figured it out. We're still sloppy.
Nice. I think last time I actually did cut the audio in mid sentence, so maybe this
That's
time.
good. I love that. I think we should stick with that.
All right, sweet. So maybe I'll pick one of the words that we just said and cut off randomly there. And folks who are here right now, you know you're in on the joke, but everybody on in podcast land just thinks we're extra sloppy. Yeah,
You
sweet.
should have it like cut yourself off right before like an extremely important announcement. Like, oh yeah, I
Oh,
forgot to
one
tell
more
you guys
thing.
this amazing thing, and we're gone. That would
Indeed.
be nice.
Okay, cool. So we
Um,
have an interesting game lined up, I think.
yeah, I hope it's interesting.
Oh,
Maybe it's a good thing that we're starting this game. I guess were you almost at the half hour mark? We usually try to like
a
go a
little
half hour.
past.
This game, I almost half jokingly said maybe we should put a timer on this game, but no, let's just enjoy the madness that comes out of this. We'll see what
Hmm.
happens.
So
Um,
they know it's
yeah,
coming. It's going to be a Whirlpool versus Heart of the Forest
yeah, of course
showdown,
it is.
of course.
I'll make a table for us.
Okay.
There we go. And don't forget to hide your screen from me so I
Ooh,
can't see your amazing hand.
oh my. All right, let me turn that one off. I might have to adjust the video a
I
little
think this
bit.
is the one. Is this the one that I said I was going to play? Yeah, that's the one. Awesome.
Boom. Cool.
All right, so I'm going to play Trifather, the Unparalleled Conductor. Obviously, Whirlpool. It's got Sanctum and Saurian with it, which is one of my favorite house combos to go with the Whirlpool. Lots of capturing, lots of exalting in that. Um, and the coolest part about this deck, outside of the Whirlpool, of course, is the Epic Quest and the Maverick Unity or Discord. So I've got only 4 nights, but a nice way to replay them with the Unity or Discord. I've only played this deck once, but I'm really excited to try it out a bit more, see if I can pull off a Unity or Discord Epic Quest. Um, but it's got some other good Whirlpool synergies too, like 2 Bring Lows and some Exalting in Saurian. So pretty cool. Looking forward to playing this one more.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that Unity Discord is so nice. Very jealous of that with your Epic Quest. And just making sure I pull it up here. So there's no hard R, notably. So you're looking for outside tools, which is going to be very cool.
Right.
And my deck, I'm playing Ladonna Master Centaur Nithercroft. Nithercott, excuse me. And this is a Whirlpool deck that I've had for a long, not Whirlpool, Heart of the Forest deck that I've had for a long time. It like does the thing, but I've never actually played it. You can see I've had it loaded in on TCO, but don't even have any percentage wins or losses with it yet. So no idea how this is going to go. I think it can play a reasonably decent fair game. And I might also try really hard to give you a bunch of Logos creatures so that I can hit you with my Maverick. Take that, smarty pants.
I hope that happens. I
Yeah.
want to see that happen. Um, let's see here. So the other thing is you have a Gorm of so I hope you're not rude enough to use that on the Whirlpool, but I'll allow it if you do.
I'm rude enough to bring a Heart of the Forest deck. I might be rude enough to uh, blow
Yeah.
up your Whirlpool.
Touche. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Don't love the hand, but we'll go with it. I have to go with it now, I guess. This is my mulligan. Um, Play that guy
Okay.
out there.
And I think I am going to be playing fair until I'm not playing fair. So
Of course.
playing Flaxia for value rather than as a no up. We'll see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And I don't know if I don't think I need to kill you, so I'm just gain an amber out of that one.
Very sensible. All right, going into Logos. Gonna do some archiving. I'm uh, lining up Logos creatures ready to give you. Mm-hmm.
All right. So still no heart. Don't have a great hand here. Think it's probably gonna be one of those days where I just rush. Always capture on the right with Whirlpool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put it over there.
Rasnar. And I have
Oh
a
man.
very interesting card here in the Whirlpool matchup specifically. So that's kind of fun with the Pempaka Jaga. Going to
Forget if
be
that's the skirmish one.
it's the skirmish one. Yeah, it's going to be kind of funny sending that one around. I'm gonna toss it down, and we'll see what happens here.
Well, there's no Whirlpool yet.
Very tempted to just fight in, but mostly playing it for the lulz here. See what happens.
All right.
All these big dinos, my
And
goodness.
yeah, some big old dinos. I don't like your skirmish, so we're gonna get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. Now we're talking. Now we got a hand.
Very cool. Okay, what can we do here? Staunch Knight is interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, not gonna be on a flank for very long.
No, but you'd love to give it 4 damage while it is on a flank and send it over, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things that I look for is I have a couple Corpulent Collector decks with Hadroth's Wall.
Mm-hmm.
So you play the Hadroth's Wall, you play the Corpulent Collector, you can capture up to 8 on it before it dies,
Yep.
because it has 9 power with the wall, and then as soon as you pass it over, it dies, and you get that back immediately. Um, Pretty cool combo. I have a couple with that. Um, and there's a lot of other things you can do with it with the Corpulent Collector too. There's if you're playing Whirlpool, obviously you have Unfathomable, which has a few different things with bounce. So you can like play the Corpulent Collector with like 5 on it, pass it over there, play a bubbles with it, do it again. A lot of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, really cool. Bum, 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 bum. Should I trade this one off?
So you healed the Sensor Philo.
I did. I'm
Okay,
happy to
so
make that
50.
first key.
I see. Well, you're gonna probably be making a few keys. I'm gonna make you make a few keys.
And I'm now really regretting putting Storm Arrows over there on the left. That was a rookie mistake here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you don't want to give them to me either.
It's
I feel
true.
like you want to avoid giving me creatures that like share a house with my Archon. So I don't think it's necessarily bad to put him on the left side like you did.
He's it's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't want you to or let you load up. Let's see, how do I want to say this? I don't mind you capturing my amber and giving it back so much, um, but I definitely want to avoid sending over sending over amber that you could use to put me up into key 3 territory before I'm ready.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna let the madness ensue. There we go.
I hope you're ready for Logos creatures. Oof. I've been joking, but actually, oh, too funny. Hmm. I mean, I kind of want to just keep pushing. Seems reasonable.
And you win the race.
Can I win the
This is a
race?
lot of hype if you try to just win the race and don't even play hard.
I know. Though this is too funny. I have to go for the meme. All right. Some reaps here. Doing that thing. Maybe I'll give you a heart.
Well, that won't do anything, will it?
No. Just let's do this first. Tuck that away. All right, Logos
Okay.
creature number 1.
All right. Oh man. All right. So you just drew three. All right. I think this is pretty solid. Let's see. I think I'm gonna give you back this guy. So always love to see capture pips with Whirlpool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Make you call Logos or give me three.
Hmm. Giving you 3 isn't terrible. So I could call Untamed and force you to forge key 2 here,
Good. Yeah. Do you have the heart?
and then hope to. So let's do that for the sake of science.
Sake of science, I'm going to give you a key and see how it works for me.
Yeah, exactly. So I had been all in on the racing plan. We'll do that. Definitely not playing this Taliga, although I might have given it to you. Ooh, sorry for the noise there. Okay, so we'll archive, shifting gears a little bit. And Logos creature number 2.
One more, and you can steal two from me.
Yep,
Um,
this is the master plan at work.
all right, this is going to be good here. Think you're in trouble. I hope you get your heart out because I want to show you what I can do against Heart of the Forest. All right, so I got two keys. You got four amber.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let's see. I am gonna go Sanctum here. Question is, do I want to reap or do I want to fight? I think I want to reap, and I'm going to be careful about this because I want to make sure that I can still potentially allow you to forge if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get a strange ordination.
Okay, very cool.
and bust out the Epic Quest.
Ooh, very nice. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Hmm.
You found the heart yet?
Haven't found it yet. You say that like you have a Unity or Discord in hand.
Oh no.
Look at that. That's like a cat smile. This is unquestionable. Okay, so Guild Spine's not coming over anytime soon. Just move some more cards. Hmm. Yep. Trying to think if I can kill the Surmaros if it's worth it. I'd rather it not get to you. Don't think so. So just moving some cards here.
Make sure you don't reap. That would be terrible.
That would be
Reaping's
terrible.
bad. Reaping's very bad in this game.
Only the worst players do it. I don't know.
Only.
Ay, ay, ay. And then you'll give me back my my Logos creatures. That's so sad.
There
All
may be a
right.
call Logos here.
Maybe. So those over there. Toss this one here. Done. Oof. No, I'm just going to end the turn. Okay, interesting.
Okay, so
If you have the epic quest, it would be indeed epic.
yeah, I need. It's funny because like you only need a Unity or Discord and one other card with 3 archives here.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. That's right. Um, don't have it yet. Tough decision here. I do have some really cool answers in this deck though for the heart, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Go Saurian. Um, who do I want to exalt?
Indeed.
Some good options here. We'll go with that one. And Atticus.
Cool. So, interesting. Oof. So I didn't say before, but being at 5 is a bad place for me to be. But
Yes,
now,
it is.
but now I'm not
Um,
sure if it matters because you're probably in range for the quest, but no spoilers yet. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. What I'd give to have that helper bot in hand. Hmm.
So the Whirlpool games really make you think.
They
You
do.
might be able to reap out here. Then the Medicus, like kind of adding another element to this where you don't you either want to like raise the tide or don't pass me back a creature with a bunch of amber on it. You could probably afford to raise unless you don't have the heart yet, in which case you probably can't. But you have
Yeah.
a big enough board you can kill it.
So you've got 3 Sanctum cards in discard, 1 on board. So 9. Oof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just trying to count if I have a
Yeah, I was gonna
turn.
say you're like a poker player right now, like counting the odds. Like, can I go another turn without playing the heart right now?
Yeah, as the heart isn't going to do a whole lot other than stop you from winning with Epic Quest.
Hmm.
If I can go another turn, I'm in really good shape. And might have to just bet on that. I have some interesting lines that I'm trying to like I can put something on top with backup copy. You have 9 cards remaining that are Sanctum, or 8? 8 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 8 Sanctum cards remaining. 3 in archives. That Unity Discord is so good in here.
It is really cool. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
a big reason why I targeted this one when I was trading for it. Maverick's obviously really cool. Everyone loves a Maverick, but to have like some really good synergy like that is pretty rare with Mavericks.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I
It's
should.
also at least the second time that I've played Epic Quest on this stream.
Yep.
I've like I don't know how it happened, but I didn't have that many Epic Quest decks prior to Dark Tidings, and then all of a sudden I've just been like opening up Epic Quest decks left and right, and I think I have like almost 15 of them, um, and including that double Epic Quest that I played against you a couple weeks ago. So it's kind of like become sort of like one of my cards now. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty sweet card.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, I think I have to make a play here. I am going to go Logos. Not taking my archives.
I'm gonna reap this time.
Gonna reap this time. We'll see what happens.
Oh damn! I don't want you to reap actually. I thought we said
Reaping.
reaping was bad.
Reaping's great. Ooh, decisions though. Yep. All right, let's see.
Okay, backup copy on the helper bot.
Mm-hmm. And now, as much as I'd love to get the helper bot in the moment, so you're going to get Sir Marrows. You'll have 2 creatures with Amber on it, not enough to forge. Unless I'm missing something, I can safely pass without raising. And I'm going to stop you from reaping with the dinos, assuming your Sanctum turn would either be spent epic questing or not doing a whole lot else. All right. Let's archive this thing.
All right, so the helper bot's still there. The mimicry really makes things difficult. That means that you can open up a lot of possibilities here. The bring low, you could use decadence or healer harm to kill your helper bot. Illusions is a possibility. I don't think there's anything that's that devastating though. And you have a key charge, so I need to make sure that I can't let you easily key charge. That might be the hard part there. You've got a regrowth. Yeah, no, you've got this. If you can play a regrowth on the Flaxia, um, and then a pip. So I think I have one shot here. This might actually hold you off because it appears to me that you have just one way of removing creatures, and that's going to be that they're everywhere. So I'm going to go with Unfathomable, and I'm going to play a couple Cowps.
Ooh, okay.
And going to make sure that they end not on a flank. And
Bubbles.
going to bubble someone. Who's it going to be? Probably Anahita was my original instinct. I might go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll go Anahita.
Anahita back on top.
All right.
2 keys apiece. Okay, so still a Whirlpool game, not a hard game any longer.
I really had some answers for Heart. I was hoping you'd play it.
I would have loved to.
I want to showcase those answers.
The Cowps would have been really interesting, especially if paired with some board control. But now I have not a ton of ways to deal with. Not a ton of ways to deal with your epic quest. The bubbles is great too. I was hoping to go back into Logos if I had drawn the key charge and then replay Helper Bot, which I could still do. But I need to draw that key charge, unfortunately. Can get to check. That is not really a worry. But can I have a way to stop your epic quest if you go there? I don't think so. Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. I could binate. That's funny. Binate, then use Helperbot to put Aubate on the flank and send it over. And then remember not to let you forward with Lacus. The sneaky Lacus Forge.
You just forget.
I could forget. It might happen. Let's go Sanctum. Go Sanctum? Yeah, let's go Sanctum. Move a couple cards, not take my archives. I'm only going to play one creature right now. Let's play the Obate first. Over there. Reap. And then you'd end up with 6. Oh, because of Cermeros, of course.
Ah, you forgot Cermeros.
I sure did. Gonna
Oh
have
man, that's such a bummer.
what a bummer. Like, I should be at 6 right now. What's going on? I was gonna fight the other Kelp, but I'm fighting that Cermeros instead. And sadly discarding Barrister Joya, but not sending over enough to let you forge with Lacus. Okay. Okay. All right, good
All right.
sir. This is the moment to hit me with a quest.
Well, it's funny because I have one out here, and it does not involve quest, but it
Nice.
does involve sanctum. So, um, think I think I can try this. Let's see here. How much elusive do you got over there? None? No elusive? Okay. Well, that's okay. This is going to be a bit of a complex turn. So let's see if I can figure this out. Um, I know I have to call Sanctum, and I know I have to take my archive, despite the epic quest.
I like the sound of that.
Um, so, I'm allowed to reap this turn? Let me just make sure. Yes, I am. Okay.
Mhm.
Good thing. There will be some reaping involved.
Hmm.
All right. So, man, this is going to be a tough one. This is kind of what I love about Dark Tidings, though, is like there is a great puzzle here. Hadroth's Wall makes it a little bit more complicated too, but it really helps the Grey Rider here, obviously a lot. But I can probably only fight with Grey Rider once because you don't have any one power creatures and you don't have any elusive. Um,
Mhm.
and Badge Magus is also mandatory,
Yes.
so that is another complexity here. Let's do some counting. So I can kill off your two small creatures. That'll give me two. Um, I should be able to exalt an extra one. You're still going to get the key charge. I'm going through all this mental exercise in my head, and you're still going to have the key charge. um, yeah, unless it's the last card in your deck, which I somewhat doubt it. Um, so the Badge Magus is going to go next to the Grey Rider, which is a pretty sweet combo. Put it on the Grey Rider. Um, and then let's just see how this goes. So I'm going to reap with the Grey Rider, which will trigger the fight of Badge Magus. Oh, you do have a Helper Bot. I should have seen that for the one power creature. All right, this might be good. All right, so the Badge Magus is going to fight. Um, so many small creatures. Let's start off by fighting the Grey Rider. And now we're going to use Badge Magus to fight with the Physicus Felix. And the Felix is going to fight into... Man, I need all your small creatures to survive because I can fight as much as possible here. let's fight into that ZYX, and we are going to exalt. Um, let's exalt the helper bot,
Hmm.
and then the Gray Rider is now going to fight with its 4 beefy power.
Oh, super cool.
I think the ZYX, and it's going to make the Badge Magus fight again, and this time I want the Badge Magus to survive, so it's going to be the helper bot. And then I have to fight. Oh, I just blew it. I'm going to give you back that amber with the Gray Rider. Cool. All that thought and all for nothing.
Oh, you need the Badge Magus to die in this fight. Yep.
I did, yeah. I was so excited about all these extra fights, though. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
sweet, the Badge Magus can fight the helper bot. But I'm going to give you back this amber, and so I don't have another capture pip.
Uh,
Um, I did get up to 6 though, which is cool. Um, and the Badge Magus is even bigger now for what that's worth.
yep. That's cool with Badge
Right.
Magics next to Grey Rider. I'm not sure I've seen that
Pretty
interplay
wild.
before.
Yeah. Let's just pitch that epic quest. And good game. Did you have the key charge? I think you had it anyway.
I did. I had the key charge. Um, yeah, I had the key charge with you know, Darna mimicry.
Darna
Uh,
would have done it. Darna would have given you 2 right away, right?
yeah, with
And then
four here, and then enough pips, with mimicry being a strange ordination or something. Yep.
well, you couldn't have played the mimicry and the key charge because you can't kill Calpe in Untamed.
Ah, yes, yes, you're right.
I think you would have still had enough with just the Darna though, right? Like the Darna would have put you up to like 9. Is that right?
Darna just as my own creatures. So one, two, three, four. Darna gives me four.
You
Hmm.
would have been at 9 because you started with 5.
Oh, if I start with five, yeah. Darna would have put me in range. And let's
Yeah.
see if there's anything that I could have used to. Yeah, mimicry could have potentially taken out the Kelpe if needed
You could
with
have, yeah, with the Decadence
decadence, and then
or Healer Harm. Yeah.
decadence healer
Yeah.
harm, and then
So
that
you had some
supercharges
options.
the Darna. But very interesting.
Yeah. Never saw the Unity or Discord, sadly. I still have 3 different Sanctum in my deck. The Brain Drain was another one that I thought was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
To Brain Drain the heart, just to delay it if needed. Never saw the Brain Drains. And then the one I was really hoping to pull off was I was hoping that you were going to rely on the heart, play it out, and then I could have used the Berry Riches to give you back a bunch of amber.
Yep.
So
So I went into this one uh, looking at Trifather and thinking like, well, the board control is not outstanding, and there are going to be tools with the exalting and what have you to kind of make a all in heart position difficult. Now it got to a point there um, where I kind of did want to go for it, fearing the epic quest. So like cool tension there. Whereas like I felt like my best chance was not to go all in on heart, but there was also a point where like, oh, now it probably is the best line. Um, and
yeah,
all against a deck that had no R, So like very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was definitely afraid of the Reap Out too because you had a giant board that I couldn't handle.
Hmm.
Um, and just reaping out there. I didn't have a ton of amber control. The bring low was stuck, so the bring low would have been nice. Taxing journey was another one that could have actually done a little bit to help me out. Um, but I kept drawing some dinos that weren't helping out too much. So um, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a few different paths to victory for you there.
I was really hoping for Brain Eater fights to redraw the Helper Bot. Oh, so
Mm.
Binate first, Helper Bot into Key Charge on the Logos turn, and I think that would get around the Kelpe as well, which would be fun.
It's pretty cute. Pretty cute. Yeah, I
But
like that.
but yeah, the
But
Brain Drain's interesting because you can wait for them to hit that point. If they're not playing a, yeah, I can go from, if they rely on that forge step to make key two, uh,
Hmm.
you can
Yeah.
time it there.
Yeah. So like I guess it's kind of like a stealth mode in some ways, right? Like you could have your turn where you just burst up and you're like, I'm gonna um, forge one naturally and then key charge, and I just play a brain drain and put the key charge back, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, you're kind of stuck there. But um, my problem was that I couldn't burst enough anyway. Like I couldn't get up to like a point where I could actually just forge a third key anyway, and would be waiting on you. So you were able to outwin the race anyway, despite not needing the time and the setup from Hart.
The Yeah, some really interesting interplay and counterplay on both sides. Yeah, I I don't know. I don't think it would have been like, even if I had Heart turn one, I don't think that it would have made sense for me to just sit on it and wait to set up the perfect game. I think you have enough tools to win when that
Hmm.
happens. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I was targeting the berry riches as like one of the answers, and I shouldn't have, but I held on to one, thinking like, well, I don't want to be stuck without drawing the other one. So I was like, I had one here, so I decided to hold it for a bit. I shouldn't have. I ended up drawing the
Hmm.
second one, but more importantly, I never drew the sanctum, so um,
The Sanctum was
I wasn't
key.
able to
That epic quest was very scary. Yeah,
win. Yeah,
very
yeah.
scary.
It's I think there's only 4 knights in here, and being that I archived three was really strong. I thought.
Oh wow, so
Um,
you had the three there. Yeah,
Yeah, and then the Unity of Discord and one of the card is all you need, and I wasn't able to find more than one other Sanctum. Um, but yeah,
interesting.
I'm definitely gonna give this one a play some more. The Epic Quest gives it an interesting line, especially since I have to be careful about giving you my knights. If I don't have the Epic Quest yet and I have the Whirlpool out, I don't want to pass a knight over you. That's why I was kind of happy to have the Staunch Knight stay as far to the left as I could, um, waiting for the Epic Quest to show up. So
Yeah, yeah. No, makes sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Hmm. Cool.
uh, yeah,
Cool.
cool game. An example of how Heart doesn't have to be a terrible experience.
Yeah, I think hopefully I had fun. There were definitely some, like, okay, we're gonna have some like serious tank time here, like turns. But
It is a brain burner for
yeah,
sure.
it's still good times. And I have to admit, I did archive Take That Smarty Pants as one of my first archives, just hoping.
You just it wasn't like the ideal card to archive, but you just had
I
to
was
do
just
it
like,
just in case there was a chance.
it has to happen. If it can happen, if it could have happened, and I left the opportunity to go by, would not felt good.
That would very much a feel bad.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, fun game, fun game.
Yeah, great game. We're gonna be doing some more double-sided artifacts eventually in the future. We've I have a lot that I love, so I don't
Mhm.
think we're gonna run out on that one. And whenever Winds of Exchange comes out, I think I've already seen a few spoiled that are even more like that. So definitely a future in store for this kind of theme.
Cool. Right on, right on. All right. Do you have a real sign off in mind?
Oh no, I thought you're gonna cut us off like right now. Oh, I have a great idea for a sign off.